All right, welcome everyone. I'm Kevin McDonough, and I'm joined today by Avenue colleagues Brandi Sanner, Lane Dunn, and Anthony Murphy. Thank you for joining us today for our discussion on modernizing jury management and how Avenue is helping courts transform outdated processes into efficient, user-friendly experiences for both staff and jurors. Today, we're highlighting Avenue Jury, our cloud-based end-to-end jury management solution designed to eliminate manual workflows. Avenue Jury automates everything from postcard summons and check-ins to juror payments, saving valuable time and reducing paperwork. It's fully configurable to fit your court's needs, and best of all, it helps your team focus on what matters most while creating a smoother, more convenient experience for your constituents. And in keeping with our Louisiana webinar trend, we're going to give you some great content. But again, we're going to have some fun along the way. And in just a few, we'll show you Avenue Jury. But please, throughout this webinar, we'd love to hear your questions, concerns, or local experiences. Please put your questions in the chat. So let's get started. Brandi, what do you say we break the ice with our famous quiz time? And I don't know if you guys knew this, but I was a barrister back several hundred years ago when things just started getting kicked off. So Brandi, take it away.
I have the perfect quiz for you, Kevin. Perfect for you. And I'm just here for the fun today. So right. Here's the scenario. It's a quiz, and I'm going to need an answer from you. I'm going to give you multiple choice in a moment. And you look like you're ready. You probably know the answer. So imagine that your time machine has just crash landed to the first recorded jury trial in U.S. history, right? The accused, John Billington, that's a clue, glares at you. The judge is speechless. The jury is whispering, wondering if you're some kind of wizard. Your time machine is glitching hard, and you've only got seconds before history erases you entirely. The only way to stabilize it, pick the correct year that you fell in before you're forever labeled as the world's worst time traveler. So what year is it that you landed in your time machine? I'll give you your choices. Option A, and they're going to come on the bottom here in just okay. Option A, is it 1776? The founding fathers had squeezed in a jury trial between declaring independence and arguing about wigs? Or is it option B, 1630, the first jury trial takes place in Massachusetts featuring John Billington, who is very much not thrilled to see you? Or is it option C, 1492, Columbus holds court, probably to accuse someone of stealing his fancy explorer hat? Or option D, 1803, Louisiana hosts the very first jury trial after someone tries to claim the entire state as their personal backyard? So of those options, Sir Kevin.
Yeah, so I know the answer to this because I don't know if you guys knew this. I tried John Billington.
You were the judge on that trial?
So yeah, and I've got a few wrinkles, but yeah, that's going to be my guess there.
Oh, okay. Well, I think you would be right. And that's actually some really fun history if you don't know that story. Very interesting story there. He was a murderer. So go Google that. But you're correct. At 1630, the first jury trial takes place in Massachusetts featuring John Billington, who is very much not thrilled to see you. So there you go. Thank you for that, Kevin. I love the wig. You look very handsome. We're gonna keep you on deck to help out through this jury presentation. And with that, I would like to yield the time now to my colleague Lane, and she's going to walk us through some of the evolution of jury administration. She's got a lot of institutional knowledge that she brings to the table today. Happy to have her here with us. So Lane, how did we get from the Flintstones to the Jetsons?
Thank you, Brandi. I'd like to explain that. And contrary to popular belief, I was not the jury administrator at the trial for Mr. Billingsley. But
you weren't working with Kevin then?
Yeah, no, I was not. I haven't been a jury administrator for quite that long, but darn close. So let's talk about the evolution of jury administration. And I can tell you from personal experience, I started in the U.S. District Court as a jury administrator in the 80s. And we managed then court case management and jury management systems strictly manually. We did it all with an IBM Selectric typewriter. For those of you that don't know what that is, you may want to Google it. But things were very manual back then. So I'd like to explain to you what was jury administration like back when Fred Flintstone was being summoned as a juror. We would send out probably 100,000 qualification questionnaires, which all had to be torn apart separately, and then they had to be evaluated. So we would send out documentation. If you were a jury administrator back then, you would have to deal with a lot of paperwork, qualification questionnaires, jury summons, documentation from the prospective jurors, bringing in their vacation requests or their notes from their doctors. All of that was manually back and forth. Now, there was no IVR at that time, so everything was managed by telephone calls or by letters. There was no texting at that time either. So we would send out a lot of mail going to and from the courts. Obviously, a workload effort, but even more importantly, there was a significant cost to the courts. Then when the jurors received their qualification questionnaire or their summons, they would come back to us and we would evaluate if they were qualified to serve. Keep in mind that back then we had no way to communicate with them other than by a recorded message. So every night we would have to record a recorded message on if they are supposed to report for jury duty the following day or what their instructions were. Sometimes that message failed and then it was chaos the following day when people came in and you did not want them to report. So all of this was done manually and it took a lot of time and a lot of staff effort, a lot of resources. Then when they actually reported, the manual check-in process was lengthy and laborious. I can recall many times when we had lines of prospective jurors down the hall or out the front door of the courthouse waiting to check in, to be seated, have a seat in the jury assembly room. Then we would have to manually but randomly select people who would go into the respective courtrooms for jury selection. All of this was incredibly labor intensive and took a lot of time. So now I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what are we doing now and how things have changed. I can go to the next slide, please. So the analog workflow, as I mentioned, jury administration and jury qualification questionnaires had to be torn apart. They had carbon paper on them. I would receive these from General Services Administration, usually in a huge pallet, tear them all apart, put them in the mail. When they would come back, they had a self-enclosed mailing return envelope in them, but when they would come back, they would all have to be opened and manually evaluated. When you're a one-person jury administration office, this is quite a burdensome task. I'm not ashamed to tell you that my then 5-year-old son learned his alphabet sorting juror qualification questionnaires on the floor of my office.
Oh, wow.
We had so much paperwork and we would send these 100,000 qualification questionnaires out twice a year. So you can imagine how long the evaluation process took. Meanwhile, all this is going on. You're still processing jurors, getting jurors into the courtroom. So you're not only dealing with the jury trials you have today, but you're dealing with all of the prospective jurors that you will have in the future. The burden became so onerous that at one point we engaged with a local senior center and we basically created a volunteer workforce. We had seniors come in and they would open up and flatten out the qualification questionnaires. And yes, they contained carbon paper, so everybody had nasty, dirty hands during this qualification process. But we actually comprised a volunteer workforce to assist us in this qualification effort. Had we not been able to receive volunteers and have them, all we would do is buy them lunch. But if we had not had the possibility of using those volunteers, I don't know when I would have gotten all the qualifications done. I took questionnaires home just about every single night. It was a very laborious task. Now, that's not even talking about all of the other things, all of the other tasks that came afterwards. That was just getting the qualified wheel put together.
Wow.
It was ugly.
That sounds ugly and very labor intensive.
It was.
Lane, I can remember the carbon on my fingers.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. I'm sure you can, my lord.
Nice one.
We can move on to the next slide, please. So let's talk about what Avenue Jury does now. In a modern facing application, it is cloud hosted, so all of the IT responsibilities are managed by the respective vendor. In addition to that, we have summons and qualifications. Again, if you're a one-step or a two-step court, you'll be sending out either qualification questionnaires and then summons, or you may send them out in one fell swoop as a qualification questionnaire and summons. A lot of our courts, and I'm seeing a nice trend in this regard, are going to a summons postcard. Basically, it is all of the summons information, the reporting instructions, but there is a QR code on it. That QR code takes that prospective juror to the qualification portal. From that portal, they can respond to their jury summons, they can request to be excused, they can upload supporting documentation. There is even a map hooked onto the qualification portal, which routes them directly from their home address to the courthouse so they won't get lost on their way to jury service. So there are so many advantages now to having these tools available and no longer having to evaluate all of these qualification questionnaires individually. And when the jurors receive their summons, they have all of the information they need right at their fingertips, literally on their mobile phone. These electronic public facing portals can be accessed by their personal device. I don't know about you, but I rely on my phone heavily. So if I were to be able to receive a notice from the court that my jury service has been postponed or my request was granted, I would love to be able to get that information immediately and not have to call the jury office back and forth, exchange phone calls, etc., for that information. So real-time information is very important. Go ahead, please. Add the next one. Jury check-in and attendance. Jury check-in and attendance, as I mentioned, we would often have lines going out the door and around the corner to check in people because everyone had to be checked in manually. We also had to inquire, what was your round trip mileage? Oh, you need to speak with a judge, or you brought a letter from your doctor. All of those things had to be managed manually on the morning of check-in. Using a public-facing attendance portal or a check-in portal, jurors can now check themselves in for jury service. And anybody who needs to speak with the court or needs to speak with the judge or the jury administrator, a staff member can handle those requests. But by allowing jurors to check themselves in through an attendance portal, again, either through a court-owned device or through their own mobile phone, they are checked in for jury service, and then they receive the instruction, please have a seat in the jury assembly room and we'll be with you shortly. I can tell you from personal experience that the last case study we did on automated juror check-in attendance reduced the check-in time by about 50%. That's always really important on the morning of jury check-in because there are so many things at play. The judge is waiting for the jurors to come to the courtroom. The parties and litigants are waiting for jury selection to begin. And the jury administrators, it's a high pressure situation for them. They want to get everybody checked in and into the courtroom as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Moving on through payment processing, I think many jury administrators remember the days, and a lot of the courts are still following this practice of waiting 4 to 6 weeks for your jury check to come in the mail. That usually prompted quite a few phone calls back to the jury administration office about week 3 or 4. I haven't received my check. Yes, it's on the way. Thank you for calling. Now multiply that by several hundred times when people aren't paid timely. Not only that, but printing checks, generating checks, mailing checks, and then handling the follow-up on escheatment is a very expensive process for the courts. It's estimated that mailing a paper check, generating paper check, can cost anywhere from $4 to $20. So implementing additional payment methods is really crucial as a cost-saving method for the court. It also allows the jurors to be paid immediately. So for all intents and purposes, jurors would receive some sort of notification that their payment is ready immediately after their service is complete. They would select a particular link and they could opt to be paid by virtual debit card. Their payment is forthcoming, it's immediate. They can also handle getting their jury attendance letter out through our attendance portal. So they walk out the courthouse door with everything they need. They have their payment in hand, they have their attendance letter to give to their school or their employer, and they are done with jury service. I was always very gratified when I would hear a juror come up to me and say, you know, I really dreaded this today, but it was a very pleasant and efficient process. And next time I receive a summons, I won't be quite as negative as I was on this first round. As a former jury administrator and a court administrator, that was very important to me to hear that we could change some hearts and minds about jury service simply by making the process more efficient. Now, translate that to all of the efficiencies implemented on the court staff side, and those two equal a very happy equation as far as putting jury service in a more positive light. Remember, jury service is often the first interaction that citizens have with the judiciary. Courts want to make that a pleasant one and make sure that the jurors know that their time is appreciated and well used.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Next, I think we'll go into the demonstration of the actual Avenue jury application.
Yes, it's so exciting. So I appreciate that, Lane. So let's jump into it. So very excited to show you guys Avenue Jury today. Now, today won't be a full demonstration, but it will give you just a good understanding of just the power and the quickness of Avenue Jury. Now, before we kind of get into some of the day in the life, if you will, I think it's important to kind of just understand what compiles Avenue Jury. So the very first component is the internal application, and this is Avenue Jury. This is where we're going to be working and sending out those summons, looking at the qualifications, seeing who's checked in and checked out. But we also have two other components, and those are other portals that Lane just mentioned. The first being the qualification portal. Now, this qualification portal is an online portal. As you can see, it's a web-based application where the jurors can come in, put in their information, and start to fill out their questionnaire, and then ultimately start to see if we need to put any additional information like an excuse or maybe a postponement, for instance. And then thirdly is the attendance portal. Now, the attendance portal is something that can be hosted on a web-based application, very similar to the qualification, but more importantly on a court-owned device, for instance, like an iPad or even a laptop. So we'll get into more of those in just a second. But getting into the Avenue Jury application, as you can see, I have a bunch of different little icons that I can launch from within the application. So I can do things like looking at a pool or attendance in a case, and ultimately looking at some reports and even the accounting portion of those disbursements, of those payments. But let's get in and just kind of create a pool, if you will. So I'm going to take the assumption that the master jury wheel or the list is automatically uploaded in the Avenue Jury application. So if I wanted to quickly create a pool, I can go to my drop-down, select pool, and then quickly select a court location. Now, when I select a court location, what you'll notice is that I have default settings already set for that court location. So speeding up that process when you're creating different types of pools or many pools for maybe various different sites across your organization. So for instance, I'll go ahead and select a report date, maybe sometime in the future. Let's say that it's going to be July 31st. My reporting time is 8 a.m. And then I'm going to look for 50 individuals for this pool. Now, I can bring any postponed individuals into this pool if I'd like. But let's go ahead and just say I want to create this pool. Now, when creating this pool, what Avenue Jury does very well is the ability to hyperlink. Now, this is important because it gives me a good understanding of where I'm at within the application. So once I created that pool and those summons and qualification questionnaires have been sent out virtually and through our postcards, we can go ahead and look at that pool and look at all the individuals that have been randomly selected for that pool. So as you can see, I have all of those individuals that have been brought into that pool. Now, if I wanted to, I can kind of get the status of those individuals by looking at their different pool status or where they're at within the process. But let's just take a second and say, well, maybe I have some other pools that are kind of created out in the future, and I wanted to check on that. Now, within the Avenue Jury application, we can quickly look at other pools by looking at just all the active pools within the application. So as you can see, I already have some pools that have been created from previous different reporting dates. So if I wanted to look at an individual pool, I can go to this pool. Now I can see I have different members associated to that. Now in this instance, I have some individuals that are qualified, giving me an indication that, okay, well, we're expecting them based off of their questionnaire. But let's say, for instance, maybe I am Kelly and I wanted to go back into my qualification because I already filled out my questionnaire. But recently, I just had a medical instance. So I want to go back into the Avenue Jury qualification portal, put in my participant number and my date of birth for those checks and balances, and log back into the qualification portal. When I'm logging back in, I'm going to go back to our landing page, giving me an understanding of where I'm at in the process. So it's telling me that I'm currently required to report on 8/1 at 8 a.m. And here's my contact information is where I need to report to. But since I had a medical emergency, I need to kind of suggest that I'm not able to serve. So you'll notice this I'm not able to serve button. If I were to quickly click on it, now I can select the reasoning why I'm not able to serve. So for instance, in this case, it's an excuse. So I'll select excuse, select on my reason for my excuse, a medical reason. I can give a brief explanation like a broken hip, and then I can upload a document either from my mobile device or from my laptop, for instance. Let's go ahead and grab a doctor's note. So when selecting that doctor's note, I can come over here and upload it into the application. But when I upload it into the qualification portal, what's going to happen is it's going to prompt me on the next steps of that submission. You'll notice that my reporting date has then quickly changed, and now it's saying that it's being reviewed and I need to check back in 10 business days. Now, why this is important is one, it's giving those jurors the understanding that it is currently being reviewed, but it's not automatically submitting it and approving it for it. Now, from an internal perspective, I can come back into the Avenue Jury application and quickly review that excuse. So for instance, I can come over here, look at a particular court location, and quickly look at all the excuses. So for instance, you'll notice that Kelly's name came over. There was a physically unable medical reason, and it's an excuse. Now I can do a couple of things here. I can either grant or deny this excuse or even send it to a judge. But maybe I want to look into it just a little bit more. So for instance, I can come over to our view section and look at that image of that doctor's note where that person has submitted for that reasoning. Well, this all looks legit to me. So it looks like Kelly unfortunately does have a broken hip, and that sounds awful. But let's go ahead and just grant that excuse. We'll go ahead and hit apply, and now they're taken off of my queue, and Kelly is no longer reporting for that. So when Kelly goes back into the qualification portal, you'll see it updated, and we can also send out ad hoc communication efforts through text, so that person, or since Kelly can say that I don't have to report to jury duty anymore. But maybe there's a different scenario. Maybe I'm looking at all these future pools, for instance, and it's all ahead of time. But what about today, for instance? I have some individuals that are coming in today. There is reporting. We do have trials today. So for instance, let's go jump ahead of the time and look at a report date for today. So in this case, I have a report date of 5/22. I have some individuals that are qualified and they ultimately need to be checked in. So let's go ahead and check in Emily. So I'm going to grab Emily's juror ID and pretend that I'm Emily, but this time I'm going to go into the attendance portal. So within the Avenue Jury application in the attendance portal, I have a couple of options here. I can go up to the iPad, I can plug in my juror ID, and then I can go have a seat. But what if I wanted to do it from my mobile device? There's a long queue in the courthouse. I don't really want to wait. I want to just kind of check myself in. So Avenue Jury does a really great job of leveraging mobile devices through geofence technology. This geofence technology gives me the ability to enter my juror ID, but this case gives me an access code based off the parameters that the court sets so that I can just enter the information and go have a seat. So in kind of lessening the interaction of that constituent or that juror that they have with those long queues within the courthouse. So let's go ahead and enter our participant number and our date of birth. Now, when entering this information, you'll quickly see that all I have to do is hit continue. I can print my badge and then go have a seat, for instance. So now that I'm all set and checked in, I'm ready for the day. But let's go into the Avenue Jury application and say, well, the day has ended. Everybody's ready to get checked out, for instance. Now we can start to see who's all been checked in and checked out of the application, right? So we're kind of taking tabs on who we need to pay, for instance, on their service. So now I can quickly see that I have some individuals that are all checked in, but what Avenue Jury is going to do is check out those individuals at the end of the day. So for instance, let's just go check out Emily since she's just checked in. So we'll grab Emily and we'll check her out. And what you'll notice is that Emily's profile is going to switch from time in to time out, and now Emily has officially checked out. So let's get her paid. Getting back into the attendance portal, Emily's going to walk back up to that court-owned device, enter her information, and check herself out. Once Emily does this, she's going to have a couple different options. She can generate that attendance letter, but first she's going to initiate that payment. So when she initiates the payment, it's going to verify the payment that's going to be dispersed to her. But more importantly, it's giving her the options or the flexibility on how she wants to get paid. Maybe it's through PayPal or Venmo or a check. And as Lane just mentioned, virtual debit cards, for instance. So those jurors are getting paid immediately. So they have that flexibility on how they want to get paid, limiting the interaction that you have to have on those long checking process. But for instance, maybe she's old school, wants to select the check, and let's go ahead and just continue. Now that I'm processing my payment, I'll expect that check here very shortly, but then I'm prompted whether or not I can generate that attendance letter. So now I can come back, generate that attendance letter, and then be on my merry way. So ultimately, Avenue Jury is kind of having that cohesive experience, end-to-end process from the summons to the qualification and even to the attendance portal. So there's a lot other things to kind of cover within the Avenue Jury application today, but this is just a high-level demonstration of Avenue Jury. If you'd like more, I'm happy to do some further demonstrations, but in this time, I'm going to kick it back over to Kevin and Brandi, for instance.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Anthony. I love that. And we do encourage everyone, if you're on and if you have any interest, the call to action is just reach out to us. We would love to schedule one-on-one demos, do a deeper dive than what we did today, and show you how Avenue Jury can really change the scene for you. So, Kevin, is this you?
This is mine, but this is for you. Hey, one thing, great job, Anthony. And Lane, I did have a question. What do you recall crazy excuses that jurors used to just come up with?
Yeah, we had some pretty interesting ones. A lot of them were legitimate, but some of the ones, I think my favorite was, my power is out and my garage door won't open.
Oh my gosh.
Not about that pull down.
Apparently,
Yeah,
does not have
fantastic,
one.
fantastic.
Yeah.
That is
all right,
funny.
Brandi, you ready?
Oh, and
All right,
yeah,
here we
go
go.
ahead.
Let me go back in time again here.
I was hoping you would
all
do
right.
that.
All right.
It's my favorite thing
Okay.
about today.
So you've got jury trials piling up like Antler Lean's mystery gumbo, aging, bubbling, and somehow still increasing by the day. It's time to figure out just how massive this legal feast really is. What's the correct number of jury trials that took place in the United States in 2021? And don't let this barrister wig distract you. Just put on your thinking cap.
I'm focused. I'm so focused. Let's see here. Oh, in 2021, that's right after COVID.
Right.
Okay, I'm thinking.
Yeah. So A is going to be enough to require a coffee IV for every juror. Or B, more than the number of times you've promised yourself to start eating healthier. or C, a number so high it makes tax season seem relaxing. Or lastly, D, 50,962 because justice waits for no one except maybe a recess.
Oh, those are funny, Kevin. Honestly, I'm going to say E, probably all of the above, right? Is that fair? No, if I had to pick, I'm saying D. Is it 50,000 in 2021? Crazy. That is insane.
Crazy.
That is
but
a lot.
I do like the all the above though. But yeah, it's 50,962.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely a lot. We do have one question in the comment over there. I'll read this out loud, and either Lane or Anthony, feel free to jump in with the answer here. The question is, we need this in our parish, but we aren't sure we can afford it. Are there any state level grants or ways to help us offset the cost? That's a really good question. Well, Lane or Anthony?
I can give you my personal experience. Sometimes there are grants available through law schools, and in my experience, we've also had some grant opportunities through the National Center for State Courts. So I would recommend reaching out to your local law schools to see if they have any grants available. Sometimes they will also provide interns, law clerks, things like that, that would help offset some of the cost to it. But in my experience, grants are usually coming through the state. So I would check with your state comptroller or your parish comptroller to see what grants may be available. You may also want to check with the bar association. Sometimes bar associations will sponsor grant opportunities or supplementary funding. Those are the resources I have previously interacted with as a jury administrator.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I may add to this is that we have seen some grant funding for tribal courts. So if you're a tribal court, it's very common to see grant funding for something like this, for instance, either jury or case management.
Yeah, great tip.
So perfect. Thank you for that. And I'll tell you, just in the scheme of software, this software is based on the number of summons. So no matter, it depends on what your volume is, as to what your pricing is. But we've done a lot of these pricing proposals recently, and I feel like this is a super affordable tool. So if you think you can't afford it, reach out to us. Let's have a discovery call and get you some pricing. You might actually be shocked. It could be something that you could easily afford.
Yeah, definitely.
So feel free.
Yeah, and we know, certainly we all appreciate everybody joining on the call today, and we know you're busy, and we appreciate you spending time with us. And like Brandi had alluded, if what you've heard today interests you, or if you want to learn more about how we can help you and your court be more efficient, and also make available to your jurors a streamlined, user-friendly experience, then we'd love to continue the conversation. Our email addresses are on the screen. Again, seriously, thank you very much for your time. And Brandi, any other questions that came through?
I don't see any other questions, but I'll say this: first 5 demo requests that we get, I will bring Kevin and his wig to your demo. How about that? How about that for an incentive?
Fantastic. I might even go get the barrister suit to complete.
Oh, yeah.
So you said the first 5? Do you say the first 5?
First 5 only. That we're going to limit it to 5.
Okay. All right. You're going to keep me. Well, yeah. Let's do it. Let's keep us busy. Let's get this thing rolling.
I love that. I don't see any other questions though in the chat, but if anybody does have follow-up questions after this, you have our information here. Don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah.
And I'll pass off to you, Kevin, for closing.
Yeah. So again, thank you all sincerely for giving us your time today. Brandi, Lane, Anthony, thank you for your time, and really an exciting solution that can really streamline and make lives easier and happier. So with that, thank you. And we can't wait to continue the conversation. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.